What's up, YouTube? Back again for another episode of Budget Cooking with OJ. So this week, guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some jerk chicken on a budget. Being that I am Jamaican, may not sound like it, but yes, I am. I can turn it on like a light switch. Not the point, but my annoying partner and best friend kept bugging me to make jerk chicken. So we're gonna make jerk chicken. So first off, as always, make sure your hands are clean. Contamination, as I mentioned last week. And secondly, I want to mention something real quick. Guys, I am not a culinary arts professional. I am not a chef. I am a cook that grew up with a household full of women that cooked. So things that I do may be untraditional. Again, we had a lot of comments from our last video of measurements and things like that. I'm going to do my best to try and give you measurements, but bear with me because it's very difficult to go from just being a dash of this, splash of this, sprinkle of that, to coming with the measurements all together. So we'll get started with the jerk chicken in a little bit. We'll be right back. Okay, guys, we're back. So first we're going to start off with seasoning up the chicken, and I'm going to show you how you do it, what I use, and so on and so forth. So we have our chicken seasoning here. We have, again, adobo. For those of you who may be questioning where to get this, you can usually find this in your local grocery store in the international aisle. They have a couple different brands. One is a blue top, a red top, and an orange top. I like the orange, the red top, because it has pepper in it, which is just black pepper. But that's what I use, but there are also other ones that you can choose as well. Garlic powder, black pepper, and here are our jerk seasonings. So the jerk seasoning, some grocery stores may have this. If you live in a pretty dominant ethnic area, you can find this in the international aisle in most of your grocery stores. If not, you may have to find a Caribbean market or something of that nature, or you can actually order it directly online. And this is just a jerk season. Now, I like it hot, so this is actually the hot version of the Grace jerk season. They do have other brands. Walker's Wood is another good one you could use, but I just pick up either one. My sister would argue differently that Walker's Wood is better, but I like the Grace. And then for our jerk sauce, I just use a jerk barbecue, same brand, just the barbecue sauce, which we're gonna use at the end to coat the chicken once we hit the grill up. So here's what we do. First start, again, like I said, I'm not a measurements guy, but I'm gonna try and do it for you guys. Start out with a little bit of adobo, and what we do here is we're gonna sprinkle until you get a nice coat. If I had to say it was a measurement, I would say maybe a tablespoon of adobo, maybe a little bit less. So we sprinkle over top here, just so you get a nice little coating, and you're good. Remember, don't want to use too much of this because this is actually a form of salt. So want to stay a little bit lower on the sodium side. Then we use garlic powder. Once again, a nice little coating. Again, I would say maybe a half of a tablespoon or so. Or use your judgment, coat the chicken. It's a nice little coating over top. Our chicken seasoning. Again, this is a Grace brand, but they have other brands that you can use as well for the chicken seasoning. Or if you don't have that, you can actually use Lawry's Seasonall or just Seasonall all-purpose, all season, you know? Works the same. So same thing, nice little coating over and go from there. And then our black pepper. Nice coating over top of there. Again, all we're doing is just coating the chicken. So if I would say again, use a half tablespoon to a tablespoon of seasoning, maybe a little bit less. Let's stick with the half tablespoon just so it doesn't, not too potent for some people who may not be able to eat it the way I like to eat it. And then lastly, we're gonna put our jerk seasoning. Now the jerk seasoning, I will say to use a, this is actually a teaspoon. So 1 teaspoon, just scoop it in there, right on top of your chicken. And this is a wet rub. So I do all my dry rubs first and then add the wet rub to it. Once we're done that, just put that back on. And I had already washed my hands, so we're just gonna get in here and we're just gonna rub it all together. We're gonna pick up the chicken, get it nice and coated in there, get that seasoning in there. We wanna flip it over, make sure we get the seasoning on the back side. Getting everything and everything. Like you actually have some on this tray here, so I'll do that and rub it on the bottom side of the chicken since we coated it on the back. And get it nice and coated so you get that seasoning down and in there. Now, what we do is, I had already prepped an entire container of this last night just for time purposes. So I let it sit, and I always let it sit for about a day overnight, or even a couple days in the refrigerator in a container. What that does, it lets that seasoning sink into that meat, and it gets nice and juicy when you bake it. So that sits there. That's how you season the chicken. As you can see, it's on there now. And when we get back, before we go, I already preheated the oven to 350. And then we're gonna preheat the oven for 350, stick it in the oven, and let it cook, and we'll go from there. See you in a minute. Okay guys, we're back. Now, as I stated before, I had already prepped this last night, and this will be in our grocery list as well. As you're letting it marinate, I cut up and prepare green onions and regular onions along with the chicken to just give it a little bit more flavor. So this is what it looks like prior to. Now, real quick, to my fellow Jamaicans who are out there and others who may make jerk chicken or have their own opinion, this is not a traditional way to make jerk chicken. This is just the way I make jerk chicken because it's a little bit easier and it's a little bit faster for me. So don't judge me on the way I do it. I do it in the oven first, then I throw it on the grill just to make it quick a little bit, cook faster. So another question, why am I using chicken thighs instead of chicken breast? One, chicken breasts tend to get a little bit dry. Chicken thighs, they hold the seasoning, they hold the moisture, so it gets a lot juicier when you're making jerk chicken. So you can use chicken thighs, you can use chicken breast. It's a little bit drier, but I choose chicken thighs. You can choose whatever you want. In addition to that, chicken thighs are cheaper. We are trying to stay in a budget. So we have the oven already heated to 350. We're gonna stick this in the oven covered. So we're gonna put a little foil over top, cover up the chicken, and let it bake for about 30, 45 minutes. And we'll take it out. Not fully cooked, because we're gonna throw it on the grill, but make sure you flip it over in between halfway through to make sure that everything is nicely cooked before you throw it on the grill. So we're gonna do that. 30 minutes, 45 minutes is about the time frame, and then we'll go throw it on the grill. See you in a bit. Thanks. All right, YouTube, we're back. So while the chicken's in the oven baking up, I'm gonna give you the next steps on your side dishes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some cabbage. Yeah, some of you might say, cabbage, but you never had Jamaican cabbage. It's a whole difference. So make sure before you even start, wash your cabbage. Peel off the top outer layer that's dirty. Get rid of that until it's nice and clear, and not clear, but nice and really shiny and golden, and make sure it's clean. Then cut the bottom half off. You don't want to eat this, all right? So cut that off. Obviously, throw it away. And then I cut the cabbage right in half, straight down the middle. Sit your one half off to the side. There we go. And then you just go ahead and slice on through it. There we are. Ready to rock and roll. Now, here's the part that most people don't even realize when you're cooking cabbage is us Jamaicans, we season everything. So I season the vegetables as well. So this is what we have. Again, measurement wise, I would say depending on how much, like this is one whole cabbage. So I'm gonna give a nice good sprinkle all the way around with the adobo. Just coat the top. Good deal. Same thing with our garlic powder. I love to cook with garlic. Garlic gives you a nice good flavor, whether it's fresh garlic or garlic powder. But again, all we're doing is just a nice good coating over top. If you had to, I'd probably say 2 tablespoons each on the garlic powder, the adobo, and the black pepper. Then, same thing, sprinkle over top. A nice coating all the way around. As you're cooking, you're gonna mix this all in, so it is gonna go throughout the whole entire pot of cabbage. And lastly, not lastly, I'm sorry, there's one more step prior to that. I take a stick of butter or margarine, whatever your preference is. I like margarine, so I use margarine. Go in here, you have tablespoons that are cut on here already. I will cut about 3 tablespoons of butter. Simple as just like that, right? Cut through the paper, stick it right in the pot. And then lastly, 1/4 cup of water, just to sprinkle on the bottom. Boom.
You suck!
Done. That's your finished product right there. Throw it on the fire, on a low fire, or low setting if you have an electric stove. I have a gas stove, so I use a low fire. And that's what you have right there. We'll be right back, and I'll show you how to make some rice. So I'm going to teach you how to cook some rice. A lot of people have a problem making rice. They'll use a rice cooker or a bag rice and throw it in the microwave, which is garbage. So fresh rice. Bag of rice, $1.97. And that'll go a long way. So we're just going to go using a pretty, this is about a medium-sized saucepan. Go 2 cups to 3 cups. Put a little bit in the pot so you get a nice little coating over top, and then turn it off. Now I just go around, kind of squeeze it together. As you can see how that rice is turning a white. Shouldn't look like that. It should be nice and clear. The water should be somewhat clear once you put it on there. So just swish it around till you get it in there. And then what I do is I hold the pot like so, and I just hold it, catch the excess. This is my homemade strainer. If you can't do it like this, if you have a strainer, use a strainer. If not, use this. Don't use a colander, because a colander is too big and the rice will fall through the holes. So strain it like so, catch the excess, and then do it again. One more time. As you can see now, you can tell, see how the water's a little bit clearer than before? So we'll go through a second time. And drain it. Yeah, sorry about that. Lost a little bit more than I wanted to. That's okay. Not a big deal. All right, now that we have it drained and we're getting it back together, here's the tricky part. And here's where a lot of folks have a problem when they're cooking rice. So pay attention here. I'm filling the pot back up again. Once again with some cold water to start out. Now, when you're cooking rice in a pot and not in a rice cooker, the key is to only have about stick your finger in there. So it's about 1 inch, if that. So that's the tip of your finger right there. Once you're in there, you're good to go. Any more than that, then you have too much. Any less than that, not enough. So stick that on the stove, and there we have our rice. Now what we're going to add to it, which is what I do. Again, some folks don't do this. I add butter to my rice. Gives it a little bit more fluff. It doesn't stick together, and nice little flavor. So I put about 2 tablespoons of butter in there. So same stick of butter I had earlier. Cut the 2 tablespoons. Open that up and just drop it right into your pot. And then lastly, I add salt. Now, on the salt, I use a small spoon. Not the big one, but in your spoon sets, you have a small spoon and then you have a large spoon. Usually this is the spoon that you would use to tea, coffee, stir, unless you have particular stirring spoons for that kind of stuff. I do not. I just use this. So it's just like this would be considered, I call it a teaspoon. Just use the salt, put it in there, try and zoom in here if you can, and just sprinkle it right over top. So in other words, this is probably about a teaspoon of salt. Once you're done that, I just use that same spoon, turn the fire onto a low fire until it starts to boil, and then cut that fire back, and I stir it in. Now, you're gonna stir this when it starts to boil as well, because your butter is gonna melt. You don't want the butter to be right on top. So you want it to be mixed into the rice. So you wanna get in there and stir it up. So we're gonna stir that in there so the salt gets down in there. Wait a few minutes until it starts to boil. It will start to boil. If it overflows, that means you have the fire up too high. You want to turn it down, or your stove is up too high if you have an electric stove. You want to turn that down so it doesn't boil over. Stir it up again, and then just let it simmer. Once it starts to boil over, turn it down to a low fire so you don't burn the rice. And it is colder than a witch's you know what. but we're gonna make it quick. Get it on the grill. I came out and already warmed up the grill and got it done. So we'll get it going, good to go. Wanted to let you guys know, most of you are probably wondering why our channel is called OJ. My name's Owen, and my buddy and best friend and pal and partner, his name is Jeffrey. So we thought it would be quite funny, call it OJ, Owen and Jeff. Jeff is Asian, I'm black, interracial couple. One of us is not gonna die though. YouTube, don't kick me off of that, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so we're gonna throw this on the grill. Once your grill's warmed up, you wanna turn it down a little bit. This is where we get that nice, good flavor. And there we have it. We're gonna let that cook for a couple minutes. Then I already have my sauce here. And we're gonna start spreading it. We're just gonna let them simmer each side. And then coat it with some jerk sauce. All right guys, here we go. Chicken's been on here for a few minutes, just getting it together. Now we have our sauce here. I'm just gonna coat it and get that jerk on there. Just gonna give it a nice little coating just like we did before. All right, so once you're done that, close it back up, let it grill for a couple of more minutes, and then you're gonna flip it and do the same thing on the other side. Once you flip it, do the same thing on the other side, let that cook, grill for a few minutes, and then we take it off the grill, we'll go inside, plate it, show you the finished product. See you in a few. All right, YouTube, last step. Hey, this is what I do. That excess, nice, juicy goodness that came off the chicken, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna use that for my jerk sauce now to coat the chicken when it's done and or put it over some rice, however you wanna do it. So I just simply pour that into the pot, just like so. Get all that goodness up in there. And then I use the remaining jerk sauce I had, turn it onto a low fire. And I just use that remaining sauce here and I pour it in. And we just stir that up, mix it all together. Now I use all of it, you don't have to. You can use a quarter of it, half of it, however you want to do. I just use all of it just so it doesn't go to the waste. And we probably won't use it all, but this is what we do. And we're done. Next up, plate it. YouTube, all right guys, this is it. Finished product, as you can see, right here. 20 bucks, less than $3 per person. This will feed 8 people. And again, nice, easy, good meal, eat good for not a lot of money. Like the video, subscribe, hit the notifications so you get the notifications when we upload new videos. And if there's any comments, questions, or anything you'd like me to cook for you, comment down below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. OJ